I wanted to see many changes to the 23 for this test because I feel there needs to be some consequences for that loss to the Springboks in Wellington.
Our meetings have been pretty short after a long review, so we're pretty clear in what areas. We know how Aussie are going to play.
When you think about the standards that players and teams of the past have set in that black jumper, to look at a team and to see a team give up pretty much, it felt like we gave up. It's just not good enough.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome into the DSPN, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lachlan Waugh, sitting in for Martin Devlin, who is usually the host. He is away on holiday at the moment, but he is back next week. Don't you worry. Marty is coming back. This weekend, we have a big match between the All Blacks and the Wallabies. The 23 for New Zealand, named today by Scott Robertson, the coach. Key inclusions and exclusions. No Scott Barrett. He's out with a shoulder injury. We've got Cam Roigard back at halfback, the left wing position. Caleb Clarke will be there on the right. Leroy Carter. Patrick Tuipulotu is on the bench, which is great to see. He's back from injury. Now, Razor had some questions to answer today at a team naming press conference, and we'll bring a few of those to you now. First off, he has asked about Scott Barrett, his injury status, how he got the injury, and what it is specifically.
Very strapped up and measured. He tried to do everything he could to be available, but it's not 100%. He landed on it running down the sideline in the game, and he played through with it and thought it might have been right to get for this weekend, but it's clearly not.
Next question, Razor, what is your message to All Blacks fans who may have wanted to have seen more changes to this team? And I fall into that department. I wanted to see many changes to the 23 for this test because I feel there needs to be some consequences for that loss to the Springboks in Wellington.
The small margins in games, like we chased a game that got away from us, but the majority we played some really good footy. And a lot of the core group of those guys get to play again. You learn on stage, and they've been under the spotlight, and it's another chance for them. And also, it's great to have a couple of halfbacks back, and your starting hooker, 100-test hooker, and good to have Caleb back on the wing. He's obviously really important for the aerial game. So you bring those four back, and then you keep the cohesion of the rest of the group, and that's when you start to cement a little bit of form together, combinations.
Razor, have you laid down a challenge to your players? Do you want to see a response from them? Well, I'm guessing you do, but have you explicitly pretty much said that to them, that you need to see a response?
The review process is just as much as understanding the game situation and the execution of it and how you deal with it on the field, what's those messages, and then actually going and doing it. We should, obviously really we're in that second half. How we could have probably changed ourselves and executed, put pressure back on them, dealt with the ref, the way he interpreted the game, and like I'm just pleased, someone like a Patrick Tuipulotu can come off the bench now, and our props are another game better for playing. They'll be better around that area, just a bit more scrum and match fit too.
The reviews, the meetings after the 33-point loss to the Springboks, have they been long and arduous?
Our meetings have been pretty short after a long review, so we're pretty clear in what areas. We know how Aussie are going to play, and the exciting part is get back onto the field and go and do it. That's the part. Once you've been hurt and stung like we were, the best things to do is play, and it's come around quick enough.
Rieko Ioane, this is the second straight test that he hasn't been involved in the matchday squad. Clearly has fallen out of favour in some sense. What does he need to do to fall back into favour with the All Blacks coaches and selectors? Rieko Ioane.
Play well when he gets an opportunity, when he plays well when he gets playing rugby. Of the individual skill set stuff we keep in-house, but he's played 80-odd tests. He's not far away.
Razor, Caleb Clarke starting on the left wing this weekend. What does he offer? What's his point of difference?
Oh, look, he's got a great skill set, isn't he? Aerially and left foot kick. Good power winger, so the great thing about Leroy, he can play, his versatility, he can play both wings. He can play in the midfield and cover halfback if we need as well, so it's great he can slot to the right wing.
Final question, and this is quite an interesting one. It's asked by an Aussie journo who references quotes from Joe Schmidt in Ian Foster's new book. Joe Schmidt a little bit critical of Scott Robertson and how he handled himself and the entire situation around the next All Black coach in 2023. Obviously, Razor was appointed in the role before that World Cup, and the breakdown of relationship between Ian Foster and New Zealand Rugby was clear. Joe Schmidt a little bit critical of Razor and what he did in the lead up to being confirmed as the coach, and here is Razor's response to those quotes.
Look, I haven't read the book, sorry. I'm not sure of the context. I'd stay away from reading the media as well. So, look, no, Joe's Joe. He's been around, he's a good rugby man.
So there you have it, 7 quotes from All Black coach Scott Robertson at today's team naming presser. That last answer, quite diplomatic. He had to be Razor, so fair play to him. But that whole ordeal with Ian Foster, NZ Rugby, obviously it was not helped by Razor. And I just remember when it was at its peak, when clearly NZR didn't really want Fozzie in the job anymore, or at the very least, there wasn't much of a relationship between the two anymore. It just felt a little bit gross. And it felt like Ian Foster had actually earned a little bit of support from the public, just by the way he was being treated by his employer. And then obviously Razor was confirmed in the job. Foster didn't really get much of a shout at it. He did pull himself out of contention for it, if I remember correctly. And then I'm pretty sure even before the All Blacks had played a test in 2023, we found out that Razor was getting the job beyond the World Cup regardless of whether we won it. And we nearly did win it, didn't we? And that final, again, I think earned Fozzie more support because we actually played pretty well in that final and at that tournament. But anyway, this weekend is the focus. All Blacks Wallabies at Eden Park. This is such a vital test for the All Blacks. They need to win this, but they need to win it convincingly. That performance against the Boks at the Cape Town nearly 2 weeks ago now, the Springboks were brilliant. The All Blacks were competitive, I guess you could say, for 60 minutes, but then the last 20 minutes I thought was pretty shameful. When you think about the standards that players and teams of the past have set in that black jumper, to look at a team and to see a team give up pretty much, it felt like we gave up, is just not good enough. And that's why I'd love to see more consequence for that performance, more players losing their spots. I'd like to see these coaches stand there and say to their players, look, you've let this country down, you've let that jersey down, you let yourselves down. We all need to put our hands up and accept responsibility, but we also need to understand that when we go out there and perform like that, there's got to be consequence. And it sounds old-fashioned, old school. Maybe it's a bit rare for a 27-year-old behind the mic, but it's just how I feel. You think about the NFL. If you're a quarterback and you have 2 or 3 really bad performances in a row, you lose your job, and really, do you get it back? We don't really see that with the All Blacks. We don't really see that in rugby in this country, and I wish we did. Because at least I think that helps hold up a certain standard. That helps maintain a standard of performance and expectation. But anyway, that's me being a little bit negative about this All Black team right now on this test. At the end of the day, I love the All Blacks. I love them so much. I love this team. I feel absolute pain when we lose, but I feel just maddening ecstasy when we win. And I really want to feel that this weekend. And I think we can win, and I think we can win well. So go out there and do it, All Blacks. Go out there, smack aside these Aussies in Auckland, and guess what? You know what would be great? You know what would be even better than that? Doing it again in Perth. Go on.
This is the DSPN.